Hey guys, this is the Betamax Man here, and this is my Sony SLV R5UC Super VHS deck. And so this machine has started to develop problems. Sometimes when I go into high-speed rewind, it'll actually freeze up on me, where it'll start to unload the tape and it'll get jammed and will not go any farther. And so that is one of the issues, and it's now developing a problem where it's not completing the loading cycle. I have to give it a little bit of a helping hand to get it to load. And let me show you what it's doing here. I've got this machine all torn down for a reason. But I suspect that the cam gear has a crack in it, which is allowing it to not move. And anyway, we'll go into that later. And if I don't give it a helping hand, it will not complete the loading cycle. Ejecting is okay, unless I go into high-speed rewind. Sometimes it'll jam up if I hit high-speed rewind. So watch what it does if I don't give it a helping hand. Watch what it does. And spits it back out. But if I give it a helping hand, if I help push the pinch roller down into place, I can get this thing to load. And as you can see, now it's playing. So there's an issue here, and I believe it has something to do with the cam gear. So if I turn it up on its side, and I can get a tape to, I can push a tape in. If I actually help the cam gear is right underneath this portion of the circuit board here. So this is the cam I'm touching with my finger. And I can also move the cam gear a little bit with my finger, and that will also allow it to load. And I'm just wondering if the cam gear has got a crack in it and it's making it get stuck. Like, it'll go so far and then it'll get stuck. If there's a crack in the gear, what it'll do is the gear will actually open up and it won't make contact with the other teeth of the gears. So I think that might be what's going on. So I do have a spare cam gear here, and I'm gonna need to re-lubricate everything because I used some rubbing alcohol and got this cam gear, took out all the old dried up grease and got it out of there. So I'll put some white lithium grease in there. I'm going to try changing out this cam gear, and there's alignment holes in the cam gear to make sure that you get it in perfect alignment. Not only are these timing marks, these holes are there for helping you time the VCR, make sure the gears are in the correct position so that it can operate correctly. But also, in the manufacturing process, there would be pins that would go down through the holes and help with the assembly of this machine, because these were mass produced. So VCRs were made on a assembly line. And where did the assembly line originally come from? Well, Henry Ford made the first assembly line, and so everything that is mass produced kind of followed suit. So that's who I think about when I think of assembly line. I think of Henry Ford. But yeah, there's holes in the gears so that you can, and you line it up. The holes line up with the holes in the chassis, and you could take a dental pick and you could poke through the holes and see that this gear is in the correct position. So I'm going to try and changing that out, but before we do that, I'm going to show you that by putting in a tape and moving that cam gear, see, and now it's loaded. So that's what I was wanting to show you. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and eject it. It doesn't have problems when it's ejecting. Probably because when it's ejecting, it's got less tension on the gear. There's less torque on that gear. And those of you who think that a 3D printed gear would fix this problem, you're wrong, because VCR parts are not just plastic, okay? They are designed, the plastic is designed to be a certain strength, and VCR parts are constantly under extreme torque conditions. 3D printed parts, the plastic is not able to keep up with the torque demands of the machine. So 3D printed stuff doesn't work. If it does work, it may work for a week, it may work for a couple months, but eventually it will fail and will no longer work. And now I was watching a video on somebody was showing one of the 3D printed parts, and the guy put it in there and it failed within a couple minutes. So yeah, 3D printed stuff is not going to work. Not for VCRs, because they're under extreme torque conditions. So anyway, I'm going to see if there might be any kind of cracks that I can see. I'm going to replace the cam gear here, and we'll see if we can get this thing to work again without having any issues, because this machine has been working for a while. I had situations where it would jam up on me and I would have to align everything, and then it would work again. But it's getting to the point where now it's an unreliable machine, and it ate one of my good tapes. So it was one of my really good tapes, and it ate it, and I was so upset, because it's also been doing that as well. It's also been eating tapes on occasion. So let's get this circuit board off, and we'll expose the cam gear, and I'll see if we can see anything. Can we spot anything that might give us an indication of being a problem with the cam gear? I think it's the cam gear. it could be a different gear in here that's causing the problem, but I think it's a cam gear, so I'm gonna give it a try. Yeah, so you want to unplug the connector that's going to the video head drum motor. Now, there is from a factory, the factory actually puts a zip tie on this wire connector, and of course the zip tie is gone because I've been in this machine. I've been working on this machine, but that's how you can tell if somebody has been into it, is if the plastic, the white zip tie from the factory has been removed. Then you'll know that somebody had been into this machine. But I was the first one into this machine. Somebody might have serviced it before, but not for that. You know, maybe for something else that was like a power supply or something. But nobody had been in here except me, so you just simply pull up, because you've got connector pins that are going into the chassis, and just pull straight up. Now, if it's your first time taking apart one of these machines, this wire often gets unplugged when you remove the circuit board because it's really kind of a short cable, and the factory has a zip tie on it, and they zip tie it in a way where it is not quite long enough to do what I've done here, where moving the circuit board completely up and out of the way, and so usually it'll just unplug right there. So just be aware of that. And if you get rid of the zip tie that's on this, I don't know if it's a zip tie or I don't remember exactly, but this wire can be removed from the factory the way the factory had it. You can make it so that it'll reach, and it won't do that anymore. But yeah, the factory has the wire in a certain way so that it shortens it, and they plug it in. But anyway, yeah, let's ignore that for now. So what we'll need to do is, you'll notice that the alignments of the cam gear here, and we'll show you just exactly how it's supposed to look. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull off the these cut washers, and we'll be able to remove the plate here that holds everything in place. I'll remove the cut washers, and we'll remove this, and there is the cam gear. So that's what we need to get into. And you'll notice the alignment. These are all the way back. These are the tape guide. These gears move the tape guides up and down, of course. Now this is a white gear. You'll notice this one's not blue. This is an original Sony white gear. They were white before they were blue. This is just one of the original white gears that I had. This is off of a parts deck I pulled it off of. So we're gonna note that the position of the cam gear and how it looks, as you can see there. Also, if you take a dental pick, you can poke through that hole and it'll go down into a hole into in this gear here, this arm, this long white gear. There'll be a hole that goes into that and goes into the chassis. But anyway, we're gonna pull off the cam gear. We're gonna pull it out. Now there's a lot of grease on this thing, and it may be covering the crack. So I'm doing a visual inspection. I really don't see any cracks, but that doesn't mean anything because, you know, it could be the grease is over the covering the crack. But this cam gear may be okay, or maybe the teeth are slightly sheared off. It could be a tooth that's not quite right either. I don't know, but I'm gonna try changing the cam gear. So here is the new one. So I'm gonna need to put some lithium grease on here, but this will just go down into place. And of course I'm gonna, you know, put grease on it because I don't want this gear to struggle to move. And so it was right about there, and we'll just push it into place just like that. But we got to get some grease on there before we can get that back into place. But that's how you put the cam gear into place. Let me get some white lithium grease we'll put on there, and we will see if that cam gear, that new cam gear, will give us any kind of improvements. Also, this particular cam gear also has a little timing mark on it. It's got a little arrow that points to this little, I believe that's a little dot. There's a little dot right there. So those are alignment marks. Okay, so I put a little white lithium grease in there. We're gonna reinsert the cam gear, button this thing up, and see if possibly that will fix the problem that we're having with this machine. I hope it does, because I'd really like to get this thing back up and going. This is a fantastic machine when they work. Okay, let's test out the new cam gear and see if we've made any progress, or is it still gonna have the same issue. Okay, so I must have been right. It was definitely the cam gear. So yeah, cam gear, and I'm not hearing that really awful grinding noise anymore either, guys. So it has to be a crack somewhere, and I'm thinking that there's something going on with this particular cam gear that's causing an issue. So with that being said, I was correct, and that is that the cam gear has failed, and that is why this was having so many issues. But let's put it in a couple times just to make sure. And it's not eating tape either, so that's another good plus. And there we go. Yeah, that's what it was, guys. It was cam gear. So what exactly happened to this cam gear that caused it to fail like that? I'm thinking it's got to be a crack somewhere. And yeah. So I fixed this machine again. Hopefully I won't have to repair it too many more times, but I'm gonna go ahead and mark this gear as bad, and then I'm gonna throw it away and just in case it would happen to not be in the trash, I will know for sure that this cam gear is no good. So I've got my little Sharpie here, and let's mark it so that I know that that it isn't a good cam gear. Also, I fixed the problem with the chewing of the top side of the tape as well. I had that issue as well, but I don't think I videotaped that issue. I think I just fixed it. I should have filmed it, guys, but I didn't, so. There we go. Bad. No more usage. Get rid of that cam gear. Throw it away. It's now a hockey puck. Alright. Well, guys, I seem to have repaired my Sony SLV R5UC for the 1000th time. This machine has broke down more times than I can count, and I have fixed it every damn time. So, with that being said, I am glad that this has been resolved, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was kind of a quick video, and one of the reasons that kind of hindered me in the direction of doing this repair and thinking that it was the cam gear is, well, one of the reasons is the way it sounded. Now, the modes, this machine, this cam gear operates the whole entire mechanism, and this gear does get under quite a bit of stress. And the way it sounded, and also when it wasn't completing the loading cycle, I thought, well, you know, I'm going to try and turn that cam gear and give it a gentle push, give it a little helping hand. And doing that allowed it to finish its loading cycle. So now there's a situation where, okay, I was right. A lot of times I can fix machines, but there are times where you can't, you know. But in this case, we fixed it. So I can now put this thing back together and get this thing back up on top of the SL2700. When it comes to Sony beta machines, nobody knows them more than I do. Okay, well, obviously people do know more than I do, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that I'm very knowledgeable with Sony Betamax VCRs. I'm also pretty knowledgeable with Sony VHS machines. The first chassis that they made. Not the second one, but I'm talking about the original chassis that Sony designed, which is this one. They used this design in most of the early, late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to about 93, when they, I think 93 is when they stopped using this chassis, and they actually started to farm out their machines. Like, they were having other companies make VCRs for them. So this was the very last thing that the last of the VHS machines that Sony made, because after this chassis, Sony farmed it out. They had other electronics companies making VCRs for them, as far as VHS goes. Now, VHS was actually, it was 88, or I think it was 89 when they started making VHS decks. And they were still making both decks. They made a beta machines from 1975 all the way up to 1993. And they were making VHS machines along with the beta machines. 88, 89, they started making VHS machines. And they continued making the VHS machines until about 1993. One of the last high-end Super VHS machines that Sony made, which was the SLV R1000. Those were awesome machines. They had a really cool display. I might be able to purchase one this month, or maybe next month. Maybe I'll be able to go on eBay and buy one and get one for a fairly okay, decent price. I don't mind paying $100 for one. If it's like broken, so I'll buy it and fix it, and then I'll have one. But I'm not going to pay $300-400 for one that already works, or one that, you know, somebody, all they did was replace the blue gear, and then it starts working again, and then they claim that it's refurbished when it's not refurbished. All they did was replace the broken part. That's not refurbished. So at least when I know that I can refurbish them, and I can, you know, I don't mind paying $100 for an R1000, because those Super VHS machines were really neat machines. They had the coolest display ever, and I don't think any other machine had a display like the SLV R1000 did. So now I'm just geeking out and rambling on, and I tend to do that from time to time, but I want you guys to know that, hey, yeah, I'm there, I'm out there, I'm still here, still around. I will check comments from time to time. I have been really busy as far as work goes, and other things outside of work that need attention, like, you know, putting a new radiator in my car, and, you know, things like that. So it's pretty much, there's a lot of stuff that's been thrown at me, work-wise and outside of work, and so I haven't really had any time or money to buy machines that I can repair and make videos on. That's what I do. I like to repair beta machines. I like to buy broken beta machines and repair them and do videos on them and show you guys. And that's what I love to do. And if I can, you know, buy a machine that's broken, fix it, show you guys how to fix them, that's awesome. I enjoy doing that. Yes, I'm still around, and I'm sorry I have been absent for a while. And I know that this video is kind of a quick video. It's not really too long. It's not too in-depth. But it is one of my machines. This is my machine, obviously, that broke down, that I was able to fix. So, anyway, I do know that, hey, I got my machine up and going again, and I'm pretty happy. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together, and we'll end the video there, I guess. Yeah, so she's all back together now. So unfortunately, these machines are 30 plus years old, and you know, they're getting older, and components are starting to fail, parts are starting to fail, You know, it's part of the old analog equipment, you know. We'll keep them running as long as we can, but eventually we know that, you know, they're gonna die. But at least for now we can enjoy them. And there's my Super VHS tape. This has got a Pioneer Laserdisc demo disc, and recorded it onto this. So this is a Super VHS tape, Super VHS recording. As you can see, it's got the SVHS logo lighting up, and yeah, this is a real Super VHS tape. And, you know, these machines are awesome though, you know. They really are. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.